What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode here of RV Confidential. You got our host, Happy Hunter, and the co-host, Grumpy Nick, and we're about to have
Why do I
some
gotta
fun.
be grumpy?
Well, if you want to know why you're a Grumpy Nick, for this one episode, I called him this morning, and I'm bringing the energy. I'm bringing the heat like I always do. I'm having fun, and he just goes, "I don't know how you have so much energy this morning."
He forgets about the time difference. It's an hour behind where I'm at, and I'm cranking away at the laptop in the morning, and this guy is like he just got out of the gym first thing in
Well,
the morning.
well, can I tell you something though? What's the most important part of your uniform? Your smile, Dad.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe if you're in sales, I think.
Hey, hey.
Anyway, let's get rolling into it. First things first, today's episode is brought to you by Liquefied. Liquefied is the #1 toilet tank treatment on the market for your black tank and gray tank. Keep those smells out, keep everything flowing like it should. Hunter is currently holding up a poop pen. I'm not sure why he even owns that. But I guess it goes with Liquefied, right? If you want to
Yeah,
break all that stuff down, keep it flowing nice, make sure you're using Liquefied in your black tanks and your gray tanks. And now we can get rolling into things. Grumpy Nick here is going to let Hunter kind of take the lead and talk about. Well, I guess we're both going to talk about kind of where we've been. We launched RB Confidential.
yeah,
We went a little bit ghost there for a minute.
you sure did.
Uh, so we'll let Hunter explain a little bit. I'll kind of explain pretty much the same thing in some different words, and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, hey, I wish I pre-planned for the introduction here, but what I'll say is we started this podcast. We got really excited. We had talked about doing it, and one day Nick texted me and said, "Hey, we're ripping it and we're starting it right now." And when you're doing it, you don't realize about equipment. Like even still right now, we're learning. I got the DJI mic on a fancier mic that we were trying to figure out, but we're getting it going. We're new to this, guys. We're new to it, but we're two guys that want to do some help. We've also been extremely busy. We launched it at a time that was probably not ideal, for this. But what people don't understand about social media, I think in total, is the time that goes into it. You see a simple podcast going in there, but we got Nick going in there editing, doing background stuff and clips and organizing time to work together. It was a bad time to get it kicked off, but we're settled in. Um, Personal lives, we had a lot going on. We've also had a couple hot moments of topics here where we've been the center of a lot of attention here lately that we'll be addressing today. But what do you got
Yeah.
to add to that?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. We jumped the gun. We both got really excited about it, and although we had a structure on how all this was going to be set up, we've also kind of taken some steps back. It's all been
Yeah,
just a very
learning
fluid
curve.
thing,
Learning curve.
and we lined up some great guests. So I guess I shouldn't say we, Hunter. Just like Hunter shouldn't have said we when he was talking about audio issues because my microphone over here is all set up working great. But Hunter was dealing with some of that back end stuff. I was dealing with more of the behind the scenes stuff on the tech side of it. And, I kind of had this realization, like, I don't want to start at the top. Do we have great guests lined up? Yeah, we've got CEOs. We've got some of the biggest names in the
Some
industry.
crazy guests. Yeah.
Right. But I actually think with not just who I am as a person, but who Hunter is as a person, we want to connect with some of the I don't want to say bottom feeders. That's but I want to scrape the
Oh,
I don't want to just start with CEOs. I want
yeah.
to give the people who don't typically have a voice as well. I want to talk to other RV inspectors. I'd like to talk to other RV salespeople, sales managers, and like kind of work up that ladder in a sense. So even though we have the opportunity to have some of the biggest names on our show for the very first episodes, I actually want to kind of give it back to the people and kind of, you know what I mean? Like bring some of those real guests on and bring some voices to people who don't have that voice.
Yeah, and I think
So
too, like, we need to come off as I don't want to dog ourselves. We got to come off as very professional when you're sitting down at people that are making industry changing decisions too. I want to learn a little bit how to do it, practice a little bit. Even episodes like this are good practice for us.
yeah, I mean, I can be professional. I can get the top button done if I really wanted
I
to.
can't, baby. This part right here is for the ladies.
I'm not putting a tie on, but at the end of the day, we unrolled on RV Confidential, and I wouldn't say we weren't prepared, but we've kind of been actively changing things. And like Hunter said, we had a ton of stuff going on. We both were all over the place. We've been at some points thousands of miles apart from each other.
Yep.
And granted, we can do the mobile recording thing, but we would we would both rather put out good content than rushed content. You know,
Correct.
like that's really been our thing. Is matter. This is the second time recording this episode just because of audio issues yesterday. And Hunter's
Yeah.
like, just send it. I'm like, no, I'm picturing myself as you guys sitting here listening to this. And one thing I texted Hunter yesterday, I'm like, it's savable, but if somebody's got headphones on, immediate scroll. Like I
Can
wouldn't
we
want to
can we
watch it.
revert back to your comment about how your microphone is prepared for today and they'll readjust yesterday?
Yeah. So I mean, yesterday that was I'm gonna put that one on Riverside, is what I'm gonna do.
All right.
I'm gonna put that one on Riverside. I'm gonna shift the blame. You know what? Actually, no. Let's take some accountability. Yeah, I screwed up mics yesterday. Hunter screwed up mics today. We'll get it all figured out. But I think today's episode being technically the first one, we really wanted to get that out of the way. On kind of we dropped it and didn't do too much, and then I wanted to break down a little bit more about what RV Confidential is.
Yeah.
RV Confidential in itself is a channel, a network, if you will, is what we're trying to build. There's going to be the RV Confidential podcast, which is what you're listening to or watching right now. And then we're also going to have some different sub shows. One of them you've probably already watched, which is Ask the RV Guys, where we answer the questions a lot of people don't want to answer.
Yeah.
We just get down and dirty and we get those questions from you guys in the comments on those videos. So we answer real questions. Hunter can take over on a lot of the sales stuff. I can take over on a lot of the service stuff, and we can also both learn with you guys. There's probably
Yeah.
some stuff I don't know about sales that I'm going to learn from Hunter with you guys, and there's stuff Hunter doesn't know about service that he's going to learn along with you guys. And then we got a couple other good ideas for some shows. Hunter, you want to take the lead on a couple of those ideas? I think those are going to be some fun ones too. Uh, Nick and Hunter's super awesome RV show.
Yeah, which was supposed to be the original name that Nick came up with for this podcast. But then me with my branding wizard. No, I'm just kidding. Because he actually put the brakes on that. No, but we've got a lot of good stuff going on. I mean, I want to start shedding some light on. We all know the big boys in the game. You know, you got your Lipperts and your Mo Rides and all of that. But how cool would it be to have someone on that's got a brand new product that nobody's really ever heard of? Maybe they don't have some distribution and they need somebody like us, or not need necessarily, but we can help propel a great idea out there. Called a Shark Tank without buying equity type situation, I guess you could say. Just putting it out there. We also talked
It's a really
about,
good way to put it.
yeah, I mean, just, we're not trying to be buying anybody's company, but to have them come on the show and maybe line up 5 people and say, hey, you got 3 minutes to show the world. And like, how cool of a segment would that be? We'd also like to discuss with you guys what segments that we can have. Between Nick and I, we are reaching over 1 million people a day. So we want to tap into that pool as a resource for us to pluck from, but also for you to pluck from. So if you're somebody out there that is starting something new, maybe you got a new campground that's doing something a little different, you want to hop on. This is an opportunity for everybody. This is an industry inclusive and helpful ecosystem we're trying to build. Heck, we even talked about an idea where we could go out to even a campground. We're not saying that's a full set in stone thing yet, but we could shed light on the campground itself from both the camping side and the technician side, and just say, like, hey, how's the plumbing, how is this, and compare it against their Google ratings, things of that nature. A lot of cool stuff that we got going on. Anything else that you want to add on to that I might have skipped over there?
No, that was perfect. I think like you said about some of the products. There's a lot of there's a lot of good products out there that might not have the attention they need yet, and a lot of those companies being small businesses or new companies who don't necessarily have the funding for marketing to go pay some influencer $10,000 to promote their product, or they may
Hmm.
not have the ability to set up affiliate sales and stuff yet. And for us, it's not about the money. It's just about being real and showing you guys things like this that exist. And there are some great things out there that, again, might be a small business, might be a small idea or a small little $2 part or accessory that somebody makes
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily get the attention. One of those things, a perfect example, and you had a chance to meet those guys from over at Pop Step.
Yeah.
I ran into Pop Step at a rally a couple years ago, or at a show a couple years ago, and they were still really small. They were still 3D printing their products. It was a real small operation. And I'm not going to take 100% credit for this, but I did a video for them at the show. I didn't charge them. I just, said, hey, let me check out your product. Can you explain it? And that video did really well. And I was super happy to see them at the Alliance rally this year. And he was stoked. He goes, yeah, we have 5 different products now. We have more on the way. They have a full extrusion setup and they're mass producing the product now.
Yeah.
And I was stoked to hear that, again, I don't want to take credit for it. They put the work in, but knowing that my video might have potentially helped them, maybe get to a next step or something like that and helped out a small business in the industry. So we hope to do stuff like that. Obviously new stuff too. I'd love to still
Well,
do work with Lippert.
let me add a second to that real quick too, because I think there's an important separation between what RV Confidential is and that RV Tech's channel or the RV Hunters channel. Is this is yes, we do have some pretty good followings on those channels, but this is also a separation of that. Like I've get contacted by so many companies that want me to exchange a video of their product in return for a YouTube video of their product. And quite frankly, it doesn't make sense for my channel to be able to do that. You can kind of think of it as a real estate play. Only some or a home. There's only so many people that can live in a home. And if you say that my YouTube channel is a home, there's only so many products that can go in there. I'm already doing the RV stuff, the daily tours to come out and do all these, but this will give somebody an outlet where this is a little different. Giving them 3 minutes to pitch it themselves live here on camera could be pretty darn cool, and it opens up the avenue for, anybody. What we're doing is if there's a plant manager that wants to get on and talk about how things are made or why they decided to add an option or what they have coming down the road to get some hype. Just I don't know, what a cool opportunity to learn, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too, is actually getting out and learning some more too, and seeing how some of these things work, whether it be through factory tours and things like that. And like you said, not every product really has a place on one of our channels. I've learned my lesson with the oddball things. I have 13 e-bikes sitting here right now that I have to review. I know you've heard that story,
He
but
told me about that the other day. This guy's about to have 7 days of e-bikes if he's smart. He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to.
yeah,
He's got
I
to get an advent calendar at his house for e-bikes.
yeah, so your channel can get kind of sucked into that. I did one e-bike review, and then like 30 companies reached out. 9 times out of 10, 2 of them are going to respond after you accept, and apparently all of them decided to respond, and they just started showing up at my house. So um, those oddball things are kind of weird on the channel, or some of those small products on my side of the service side. Maybe not every product really meets the like service side. So being able to show people some other things, and then outside of product showcases, again, being able to do factory tours and talk to
Yeah.
reps and different things like that. Maybe not a full blown podcast, but being able to give you somewhat of an inside look, because me and Hunter do have a little bit of reach in the industry. We have access to some things and places that maybe not everybody has, so we can give you guys some of that, again, confidential information, if you will, hence
Well,
the RV Confidential.
I'll tell you, that's a good place, I think, to almost to cut that off a hair and switch directions because I think there's a lot of people out there that are kind of curious, and we had talked about it yesterday. Is how we even got to the point of RV Confidential. What are our backgrounds? What this has done for us? If you wanna start kicking that off, and then I
Yeah,
can take my turn next.
absolutely. So for me, and honestly, I've shared like a little bit about my personal journey or whatever, but I've never really gotten into it. I've had a lot of people ask. I've always said I was going to do like a full podcast episode, let my wife interview me on that one. I think that would
Oh,
be
brother.
interesting, but just kind of the short of it. I've been in all different kinds of blue collar jobs my whole life, and just nothing ever really it tickled my fancy, right? Nothing ever really itched my brain. Every job I've had, I've gone to the top. The typical story. I was in the asphalt industry, worked my way up to running the company. Was a locksmith, worked my way up to running my own company, and it was nothing ever really intrigued me. The RV industry found me. Let's be clear about that. I was at the lowest I've been in my life. My business had just fallen apart, and I got to a point where I was tired of not being able to afford Happy Meals for my kids. And I put a for the first time ever, like made an Indeed account and I've never applied for a blue collar doesn't work that way. You walk on the job site, ask if they're hiring. But I put a
Sure.
thing in Indeed, and at the time, the first dealer I worked, or the only dealer I worked at, was General RV. They reached out to me because my resume met what they've considered an RV technician would meet.
Sure.
I started, and I knew that this had to be the career. I've gone to so many career hopping events, and just I've changed so much. I just dove in and learned all that I could, and just kept doing that, kept learning, kept doing things on my own time. Eventually, I posted my first video as just a dealer tech on TikTok. Wasn't zero anticipation. I was just bored at work, right? Like I was bored at work, and I posted a video of like, "Hey, do you know what the underbelly of your RV looks like?" And I mean, the video, I was excited because the video got like 540 views, and I was like, "Dude, I'm blowing up," you
Heck
know.
yeah.
And I had posted a couple more, and I don't think I really got even remotely serious until I started realizing people were asking questions. They figured out I was an RV technician, and I would do that thing on TikTok where it would put the little bubble up and you
Yeah.
could answer their comment. And then I realized that, this could be pretty resourceful. Like, there a lot of these questions people were asking me. I'm like, isn't this common knowledge? Like, don't people know this? And going through Facebook groups and forums, I started realizing, like, hey, I mean, it's not that there was nobody like me doing what I do. There obviously was. There's a few of them out there, but there was just more of a need for it than what existed. So I started posting more. Instead of just answering comments and questions, I was like coming up with tips as I would work. And I'd be like, oh, that's a good tip to show people, or this or that. And that was kind of a regular thing. I wouldn't say I was taking it super seriously at the time, but
Sure.
it was something that I knew was helping people, and it was fun to do in my free time, and that was it. And then came the uh not criticism. I don't want to, but just giving people these like, hey, did you know your RV manufacturers cut corners here? And kind of
Sure.
that kind, just showing people the ins and outs. And then it kind of started to take off, and I started to realize the impact I could make. I started taking it a little bit more
Where it
seriously.
started getting kinda misunderstood by some people too, I think, the manufacturer side at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because working at the dealer, they had something against me. They could affect my job, I've never defamed a manufacturer. Anything I've ever shown is factual. Even the manufacturers I've talked pretty badly about, like, even going to, like, Forest River, they even told me, like, "Hey, I mean, we're not saying you're wrong," but obviously people on, like, the marketing side, or the people in control of the money, yeah, they kind of put a little bit of a leash on you when you work at a dealer. So I did have some constraints as far as what I could say, but I did share what I was able to share, and I tried to be as truthful as possible. And I quickly learned that that was my lane. There was other people doing what I did, but there was no one really just giving it to you like it is.
Sure.
And I'm not here on anybody's side. I'm not trying to protect this dealer or manufacturer. I wanted to be on the side of RV owners. So I started taking a lot more of that really seriously, holding manufacturers accountable when they're doing, some shady stuff, or things aren't up to par, and in my opinion anyway, and trying to give people these tips. And I learned real quick once I became a foreman that, man, I could really help the industry. Because when I became a foreman and I started seeing, like, why are we so backed up? Like, why are there so many units on the lot? We have plenty of techs here. And you
Yeah.
start looking at all these line items, and you start seeing, like, dude, people could be doing this at home. Like, do you realize that, like, yeah, I know you don't want to fix your RV because it's under warranty, but you realize that, like, it would have taken you 3 minutes to do that versus it sitting at the dealer for three
Well, how
months
many
holding
times
up the
have I
line.
called you just for, like, where my patio got locked out, and instead of having to go and tool out a new key or drill out the lock, you taught me how to pop
Right.
it off and put the screwdriver there, and then I could bypass that key. Like, that's
Yeah.
where I mean, I probably would have to pay 6, $700 to do that.
Right, and then I realized there was a lot of videos too of, just how to override your slide or override your awning, and I didn't wanna charge people for that,
Yeah.
why are we charging people this much money to do this piddly little thing that doesn't really involve an RV technician skill set? So I really dove into that, and then it just, I'll be honest, there was a couple years where it was kind of just organic. It was growing, and I just kept doing what I was doing. I stayed consistent. I wasn't making any money. It was just a hobby. It was something I was doing on the side, but I started to kind of build a name for myself as a trusted name in the industry. And then 2023 came around. My channel started producing money, which was phenomenal. It was additional income
Yeah,
because as a dealer tech, I was making it, but I wasn't making it, if you get what I'm saying.
sure.
And that extra couple $100 a month was really great. And then the biggest blessing for me and for all my followers and stuff was really towards the end of 2023. I got invited into the TikTok Shop pilot program thing that they started, and I was one of the first creators. And they were just pushing my videos, and it was great. Like I was making a few extra $100 a week at that point. And I thought I made it. Like I was like, I'm going to retire off. This is great.
Yeah, dude,
And then end of
$few $100,
2023
you're
came.
loaded, homie.
Dude, it was so great. End of 2023 was the biggest one of the biggest blessings I've had throughout all of this, and it was the Venti fan video. I was doing a lot of work for Olight at the time, the flashlight company. They ended up doing like a deal with me. I made a little bit of money doing that, but the Venti fan thing blew up. I mean, TikTok made that video go viral. I had two different Venti fan videos hit over 12 million views. I did $730,000 in sales at a minuscule commission rate, but it was enough money by the time it all like
You
cashed
mean these
out.
affiliate deals don't pay you 20%?
No, no, they don't. It's pennies per unit
People
usually.
think we
So
make a lot of money, I can tell you that right now.
yeah, they really do. And the that particular video set, it t- it's hard to explain, but essentially I didn't get that money until about spring.
Sure.
And then I left the dealer.
Yeah.
I I'll be honest with you, I got the money. Very first thing I did, I kept quiet about it. I wasn't talking about it, especially like not at work and stuff. Um, but for very first thing I did was I paid off the tool trucks, paid off Snap-on, paid off Matco, paid off my wife's car, paid off my debt. Um, took the family to Disney. I've never even been to Disney. So I took the family to Disney, and my wife always loves this part. Is I that Sunday we were getting ready to leave. We had just got done with Disney and Universal. Had the time of my life. I've never done anything like that my entire life. That Sunday, we're sitting in the hotel room getting ready to go to the airport and stuff. And I told my wife, so I'm gonna go quit my job tomorrow. She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm gonna go buy a trailer. I'm gonna take the jump. I'm gonna go buy a trailer. I'm gonna start a mobile RV service. I'm gonna get an LLC, get insurance, and I'm gonna be 100% independent." And one, it was because I wanted to work for myself. I was sick of working for the dealer I worked for. I'm not gonna like go into a deep dive on that, but I didn't enjoy working there.
Sure.
So I I took that jump, but more importantly, at that time, because I was getting into how serious social media was, I was like, I'm I'm gonna go hard on social media. And I did. I lost my way a little bit. My channel looked like a hate rally around RVs for just a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
There was some videos that I wouldn't say I regret making, but like maybe I could have changed my wording a little bit.
Well, I can
Um,
tell you, Mr. Joe Mel, formerly with, Forest River, now with the Lions here, he said that me and you should be introduced to each other, and at first, I was looking, I was like, "Mm, well, I don't know."
yeah, if you watch some of my older content, it might have been like, I don't know, that's a little bit of a
I
flight
was like,
risk,
"Man," I
but
was like, "I don't know, dude. I show floor plans all the time." It's just it's kind
yeah,
of
and
turned out to be a good yin and yang that we got rocking, though.
over the past 2 years, as everything has absolutely rocketed, Facebook rocketed off. I've gained
Oh, yeah.
300,000 followers there and stuff. I have tried to not change my tone. I still want to be
No.
100% truthful and give you guys the facts, but I also don't want to like scare people away from the RV industry, right? Like I've grown to a point where it's like a Forest River Cherokee Wolf Pup has its place in the industry. Could it still use improvements? Yes, but I'm not going to make my channel about like you should never ever buy this because now you're pricing out most of the industry.
Well, hey,
I
good,
actually
better,
have a
best.
video
You
posting
say
about
that
that
all the
today.
time.
Yeah. But yeah, and now, with all the reach and impact that we have, me and Hunter kind of linked up. Long story short, over the past year or so here, we've kind of built a friendship.
Yep.
And like you said, Joe Mel linked us up, and we both had a very similar vision for what we want to do with the RV industry and the changes we'd like to see. And
Yeah.
that's how we ended up with RV Confidential. It started with talking about how can we collab on certain videos, and it turned into we could make a whole network out of this.
Yeah.
And That's pretty much it. I could go on forever about my entire story, but that would be a whole episode. So let's hear what Hunter's got to say, because I know you got a fun one too.
Well, I'll tell you, mine was kind of a similar path, just a different side of the aisle, I guess you could say. I think a lot of it came down to me being a little bit lost in what I was doing with my life, 15, 16 years ago. That's when I got into the RV industry. I was doing night school, I was landscaping in the morning. I was going to school for special education. I got to the point where I was student teaching, and man, I did not like the job. I didn't like being in the classroom. And I think like any young man goes through, or any young woman, even too, I mean, just really anybody, when you're at that age, I think unless you have a clear set path for you, I think you're pretty nervous. Well, one of my good friends, which I won't put on here, I don't know if he wants to be named or not, but his now father-in-law, um, they owned an RV dealership. So, I went there and I started. And like you see so much in these dealerships, you start off really hot, and because you haven't learned any bad habits yet. You sit down at your desk, and as the sales guy, when someone says, "Hey, can you go measure this toy hauler? I want to see if this if this, toy works out there." You sprint out there. You're like, "Heck yeah, I'm excited to talk to somebody." And then you
Yeah.
slowly kind of phase it down. Well, as the years go on, I was doing pretty well in sales, but I met my wife and the blessings that came with that. There's a reason why I dedicate every video to her. She really shaped who I am as a person. The amount of red flags that woman just drove through and ignored and then cultivated what I am today is pretty amazing. But, through her, I knew that that dealership life, I don't know if this is like it on the technician side, but it's not RV sales is not a it's an easy job in a lot of aspects, but it's really hard on your family life. There when you go into these dealerships, you find a lot of people that don't necessarily have the best family life because the work life balance can be pretty rough. You got to answer your phone on Saturday night, Monday nights, Sunday day, because that's when people are available. And I found that I was working like 80 hours a week. So I picked up the phone and I initially it was how can I save some of that time? How can I create I actually had, some of my coworkers thought I was a little crazy. Some of my first videos were different introductions, and I had an introduction where I was outside and it was sunny out. I had one where it was outside and it was rainy out, and I'm behind the window because I wanted to match the weather pattern when I sent out my introduction. But I had
Yeah.
5 intros and then sent to people because I found that in sales and recently, this is actually crazy 'cause social media has grown to the point where recently dealerships have been asking my opinions on training their sales staff a little bit. And I was like, man, now I get to share kind of my journey with it. Social media's greatest blessing to me wasn't necessarily the views. It was that I could post a video that now instead of answering one question for somebody, I could answer the same question for 500 people. I also learned very early on, which was a gift, that my second video I ever posted on TikTok, 1.2 million views. And it was me being goofy, and it resulted in 0 leads. It accomplished none of my goals. So it allowed me the chance to step back and start going for less views but more impact. Like, hey, if you inquired about an RV, I'd be like, hey, Nick, here's a 3-minute sneak peek of the RV you just acquired about. My name is Hunter. Just want to put a face to the name. That's what my early videos were. And then I found my closing percentages went up. And I found that I also didn't have to be that weirdo robot that was hounding somebody with 1,000 phone calls a month. Um, you just be straight up with people. So as that kind of continued on, people start trickling into the dealership that were working with somebody else and they stopped and they're like, oh my God, I watch your videos. You're the reason why I bought. And it just kept kind of snowballing, snowballing, snowballing. And then the opportunities that it opened about 2.5 years ago, I decided to go ahead and quit the dealership. I was making a lot less money. I was selling about 200 RVs a year when I quit. And I got out of there because I wanted to get that time back with the family. It was a pretty risky move because we weren't that financially well off. And essentially, I was taking my income from pretty darn good saving money to immediately in the red.
Yeah.
And
It's
immediately
risky.
in there. Well, that comes back down to my wife too. It's you got a similar wife, just supportive. And I
Yeah.
think it makes your life a lot easier because they're not risks. They're a calculated move to make your family life better. Your wife and my wife, and hopefully everybody's wife that's watching, you know, hopefully your spouse always has what's best in mind for the family and they trust and believe in you. And I'm lucky to have one that makes me feel bulletproof sometimes. So It's pretty
Yeah,
cool
and
to have that.
I actually, I just to pause real quick, I love that about you that you always throw that in every video, and
Oh, yeah.
I've kind of taken a note from you on that and really tried to acknowledge my wife a lot more
Well, did
because
you
as
see
much
your
people are
birthday
like,
post? Your birthday post
huh?
is probably the biggest post of your year for your wife.
Yeah, the post I did for my wife was the biggest post I've had for all year as far as comments go. But yeah, I mean, for me, she keeps my head screwed on. She's not involved in the RV industry. She doesn't have all the knowledge I have, but at the end of the day, she keeps me straight so that I can be there for everybody else.
Well, it's funny because I used to work for that dealership not having a lot of time, and now social media for a little bit I think that's why a lot of people start social media and fail is because there's stages to it. I think you can attest, you kinda tapped into it.
Oh
You
yeah.
you you start off and hopefully you have some immediate success, but most of us don't. Like, it took me 9 months to make my first I think it was like a $100 check, and I was pumping out, 2 full tours a day for 9 months to get there. And then there's this stage where, you commit. You commit to it, you're making the videos, you don't care about the money. I was making money through leads and through prospecting new customers and shortening sales cycles. It wasn't for Mr. Influencer, but then there's that stage where you start to realize that maybe this has something to it. And then your head gets a little big. I don't know if yours did, but
Oh
I had
yeah.
a I had a my head got big moment when I went to I'd never been recognized before. And I went down to the Tampa show. The previous Tampa show I went to, nobody knew who I was. And then all of a sudden this Tampa show, I'm walking in and some guy comes up and he goes, "Hunter, Hunter, hey, how are you? Tim." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, who's this guy? And then I'm walking down, it's like 10 minutes later. Somebody else stopped me. And then I was like, "Hey," I was like, how do I know you? I feel rude, you know?" They're like, "From your videos." And I was like, if you can't say that, that doesn't my head literally felt like
Oh yeah.
it was like holding in a blimp. Like it
People
was
started coming into the dealer and asking like, "Oh, I
yeah,
want that guy to fix it," like requesting me, and like that was already like I honestly thought that was like the biggest I was ever gonna like, dude, people are coming to this dealer and saying, "Hey, like we want him." And then honestly, like my first real sign of that was when I went to, and I was still working for the dealer at the time. I went to the Chicago RV show and I was doing setup. I used to work all of the shows, so I was at the show. I couldn't do my job.
same.
And I could visibly see there were people from my work who worked who were irritated by it. Like I'm there to do a job, and it's turning into a meet and greet. They didn't
Well,
see it as,
I
hey,
think
he's
that's where
bringing
people
attention
lose
to the
it.
dealer.
I think that's where people lose it. They lose it at the beginning, get through the work stage to make something, and then I think once people start reaching that success, I think they flip it. I always tell people when I'm training people at dealerships, whether you're trying to get big on social media, like, the fame, quote unquote, I never did it to get recognized by anybody. I did it to help people.
I
And
don't like
it's
that part of it.
well, I actually like it because I like to flex with people and have a good time. So I like
Yeah,
when
but
people stop and talk to me. But what I was saying is, I tell these people, I said, don't get lost in the sauce. Like, don't forget who you are and what made it. And there's a lot of opportunities that get thrown at your way that I think roll people under the bus, like little ticky tacky $1,500 deals. And don't think I'm saying $1,500 is the ticky tacky part. I'm just saying all of a sudden you get lost and you become this. I don't know what to say. You just come like crazy with just like chasing things you shouldn't be doing. Like I have
yeah,
turned down jobs that, quite frankly, I've turned down more money than I've made, and it's because you got to respect the people that you're doing it for and your family. And, I could go out and do a video and with a script and say something I don't believe on a company I don't trust. But that's where people lose it. And I think a lot of people lose sight of where you're trying to go. And then you break through and then your brain levels out. Like now, when I go to shows and people recognize me and things like that, now I'm just having fun. But I don't go
yeah.
home and think that I am just the absolute shit. Like, it's the first couple times I was like, dang, my head was so big. I was like, dude, you can't touch me. Like I'm arrogant. And now it's like, man, I'm grateful for those times because it's repetitions. It's like working out.
Yeah.
You get stronger.
And that's actually one of the reasons, in my opinion, why we became friends is we were both very similar in that aspect.
Mhm.
I didn't do it for the attention or the likes or anything like that. If anything, that only affected me negatively. Like you said, it kind of blows your ego up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Makes
if
you
you
not
ask
who
my
you
wife,
really are.
I didn't need any more of that. Right? I didn't need any more ego. I'm already cocky enough as it is. I mean, one thing I want to be really clear about that I've I've never tried to portray, and actually that's where some of the fame started to kind of get to me, was I've never tried to portray that I'm the best technician out there, that I'm the most knowledgeable, that I'm any of that. I've worked with some amazing technicians who I learn from. I still learn from other technicians every day. I've never come across as that. I just I want to be known as the RV technician who actually teaches, right? There are great technicians out there. They just might not be the best at teaching. I'm trying to do the teaching part, right? So yeah, I definitely I think we don't see eye to eye on like I'm not as social for me. So like the shows and things
What?
like that. My
No.
very first meet and greet I actually just set it up with Alliance because I had a good relationship with
Yeah, I'll
them.
never do a meet and greet like that.
And I was like, hey, I'm at the show. People want to do a meet and greet. Can I just tell them, hey, 12 o'clock, I'll be here? And, Joe, of course, was like, yeah, absolutely. And dude, I got over there at like 11:50, just walking over there, drinking a bottle of water. It was a line of people. And it was just like, it did two things. One, it made me really nervous because I knew I had to talk to all these people. And, again, I've come out of my box quite a bit over the past couple of years, but I'm not the most social person. Um, and it was, again, just trying to like wrap my head around it. And I decided to focus that energy or that feeling the right way and realizing that I could work at a dealer or I could do my mobile service and I could impact or help three, four, five people a day tops, depending on what size calls they are. But on the internet, I can help thousands of people a day. I
Yeah.
can do a video about retracting your awning or a new product that's out, and I could reach thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, or a million people a day and help that many people versus helping people individually. One thing I want to be clear on: don't be afraid to like walk up and say hi to me. I'm not like that antisocial. Again, I've come out of that, but I will say that like I definitely didn't do any of this for like fame. I will say recognition and respect. Yeah, I've notoriously for most of my life haven't been listened to. I've been disrespected. I've been looked down upon. So part of it, yeah, is kind of a respect thing. That's what I see. Is I don't even like calling it fame. You and I both know I hate the word influencer. um, it's
Yeah,
what
who
we
does?
are, but I,
Yeah.
I I don't like the term influencer, and I do think a lot of people do get lost in the sauce early on when they hit that status of having a little bit of fame and a little bit of money, and they start doing some things they wouldn't normally do to keep chasing that. And we both we both have turned down more money than we've made to just stay real, I guess.
Well, I've got 3 sons and a daughter. You've got your family going on too. It's like I don't need my sons growing up to think that that's the way that life needs to be. And I don't need my daughter to think that that's how a man needs to be when she grows up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
no, I 100% agree.
now sometimes I do wish I chased the money a little harder because I'll tell you sometimes I wish I made the amount of money that people thought. I wish they knew you know, hey, maybe we could start our own manufacturer someday.
A lot of people think we own Boundless.
I know. So
Does
it's
it perfect time. Let's just dive into that. Neither one of us want to talk about it,
can
but we'll
I
talk about it.
start this off here real quick?
Go ahead.
First off,
Take the
uh
whole thing if you want.
oh, well, I don't even wanna do that. First off, we were the talk of the town there for a little bit, not only, from the folks out there. It's part of the reason why we took a little break to let things some sizzle down, but also within the industry. First and foremost, to get it out in the open, we do not own Boundless RV. We are, I think part of the reason why we went into the social media game or why we went into our backgrounds is to explain where we were not that long ago and where we have grown to the point where we are respected in the field to where people are now finally starting to offer some feedback and Boundless RV and a couple others. You have like your Alliance, and for me, like like Ember's been very respectful and talks about some couple things, but like I've got a floor plan with Saber. um it's a really cool feeling to know that you're acknowledged in it. And I think for people like you and I, that 6 years ago, we were relatively nothing of importance. People didn't necessarily value anything that we were doing outside of maybe like a local thing that we did that was cool or something. But
Yeah.
how neat is it that a manufacturer reached out to us and not only wanted our input for what they're hearing from the market, from floor plans and a technician side, but also they wanted us to be in the founder's photo. Like, I, I want to be in every founder's photo. That was a cool photo to be in. But, our post hit pretty darn hard, I think, because we were excited, and I think it miscued people to thinking we actually own it. I can tell you right now, If we had the money to own it, from the conversations I've had with Nick and myself, we wouldn't be starting an RV manufacturer. We'd be living on an island.
Yeah. It also wouldn't be called Boundless. I mean, no, nothing against Nate. I
Or it
think
would
I
be
just would
Nick and Hunter's awesome RV manufacturer.
exactly. It would be something super corny like that that would make people have to repeat every single time they go somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Hey, do you have
I
do you
agree.
have
It was
documentary?
just it was an opportunity that was brought to us for the photo, and I'm not going to skate like we don't have involvement. I think in all honesty, I probably have a lot more involvement than you do
Sure.
currently. But yeah, it was just an opportunity that was brought to us. I had a manufacturer or somebody reach out to me saying they're starting a manufacturer and they want to do it the right way. They want to do it different. We've all heard that story before, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that story 1,000 times. So I was skeptical. Hunter can vouch for it. It took a long time to even get me to like entertain a meeting because I was like, yeah, I've heard this too many times, and I'm not going to make a fool of myself again, telling everybody this new manufacturer is going to be all this great stuff, and then it comes out and it's like now I look dumb because that already happened once last year. So I'm not doing that again. But they were different. Nate Nichols, the CEO of Boundless,
Yeah, good dude.
showed me that they actually wanted to do something different, and they showed me by explaining what they were doing. First of all, they watched every video I ever made and essentially wanted to build an RV that they were like, we want to build an RV how you would build it. And not necessarily like, how do we get you to never make a bad video about us? But it was genuine. They really wanted to make a video about, or not a video, an RV about all those videos, like
Yeah.
avoiding my criticism, if you will. Nate had reached out to me and presented all this, said they wanted to build it based off of all, and they weren't kidding. Like when I went and actually visited, like they had my videos on the big screen in the conference room,
Oh, yeah.
and then I got to take a peek at the prototype they had at the time, and I was seeing it being implemented. Some really stuff I've been talking about for a long time that
Sure.
no manufacturer has just went, hey, we should just do that. He's right. And it's not about like, oh, my way is the best way. It's not at all. Like I don't want to come off as that. But there are some things I point out, some mistakes or things that manufacturers do industry wide that it's just like year after year. It's like, why has this not been
Well,
improved?
can I take a second here real quick?
Yeah,
I think what you're keying in on is something that I have had conversations with myself. What you did there, or from my perspective, and I think yours is from who you are, what Boundless did when reaching out to us is something that some companies have done but not taken super seriously, I guess you could say. Um, Two things. One, it kind of puts either a blessing or a curse on them because I think their first product, they need to have it dialed in with what we have built in off the or what has started here already. And
absolutely.
two, this is not a unique thing. Well, I'm never going out to be for one person. If I'm ever for one person again, it's one manufacturer. That means something went kind of wrong in my life. Now, what I'll say is, for me personally, like going back to our reach, over 1 million people a day. You have some skill sets that I don't. I also get a lot of feedback that most manufacturers don't really have access to because they're not going to feed through my comments. But hearing what people like about certain models, what they don't like about certain models, getting the community in to, hey, what's wrong with this RV and how can we fix it come across the new year? These are not opportunities that are unique to them. I personally want every manufacturer to reach out because I think it's good for the health of the industry for everyone to step their game up. And that's been the ultimate goal as of lately. We've talked about it a bunch.
Yeah.
It's not how do we tear down, it's how do we build up? Because at the end of the day, I'm camping in the same places that your friends are camping. And I have a lot of people that really ride on the health of this industry. And what can we do to slow change? Just like working out, it's just how do you lose a little bit of weight each week? How do you come in and do something a little bit different? And if Boundless wants to say that they're listening to you, I really truly hope they are because that's going to be a company that I'm going to be having my eyes on. That first review, I'm going to be looking for some of the stuff that you
Oh,
talked
yeah,
about.
and I'm gonna hold them under probably a bigger microscope than I do every other manufacturer. Why? Because I have been giving them the input, but again, kind of going back to like what they showed me that made me actually want to put my time in was they actually were doing the things. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw it from a prototype stage when it was just on paper, and then getting to see the actual prototype and having my hands on getting to be involved in that process. I've also learned a lot during that process, certain things of like why they have to do it this way or why they can't use this material or, complications with suppliers and conflicts of interest and how all of that works, right? I got to see all of that, but what I got to see was people taking things seriously. When they're working on the prototype and I'm stopping by to visit and give them some input, if I'm looking at, and this is a real example, I'm looking at the hydraulic pump, something I pointed out several times is a lot of manufacturers will mount them where you can't even access the override. And I brought that up, and immediately, like while I was still there, they were actively, okay, how do we move this? Like they're taking everything seriously, not going
Yeah.
like some other manufacturers. Well, that's little stuff. That's little stuff. But all that little stuff adds up. Um, on the tech side, a lot of people are curious. I posted a teaser. Obviously, we have to wait for the prototype. Like, we can't show or tell you guys too much. What I can tell you, and I am allowed to tell you, and I've been involved in all of that, residential outlets wired the way they're supposed to be, smart plug, short cord connector, composite, 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 composite.
Sure.
Everywhere I've found areas that can be rotted away, it's like, no, get rid of it. And that doesn't mean that we're sitting at the tables. Like, I'm not making the final decision. I can only give them my input.
Well, yeah, people think that I'm like helping build it. Last time I saw it, it didn't have slides in or even the ceiling panels, and all the wires were kind of in and out there. Like, Post made it seem like we owned it. I just want to say I'm not even sitting in those board meetings. But I'll
Yeah,
tell you, um, I do think it's cool, and I really hope that while I don't know anything about hydraulic lifts or anything like that, which is I think why me and you make such a good team is we round stuff out. I do tour 365 RVs a year, and having floor put input from people that actually camp, like how cool would that be to have a forum where people could pick and pluck from, saying like, "Hey, this floor plan sucks because of this." Like that's where, man, I hope everybody listens to it because that's what I would love to just be that guy that can make a positive impact. And yeah, I mean, the fact that that you have the skills and the resources to say, "Hey, this is where a hydraulic pump goes wrong, and this is the best way to do it." Like, and somebody listens, and you're right on top of that.
because
Um,
I see it out in the field, just like for you. Like, I don't see a lot of those like floor plan details, and I don't see the complaints people have of, oh, I wish this bed
yeah,
was
so you
here.
see the bones, I see the clothes and skin and whatnot. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I
you see all that was a really weird way to put it, but like you, it was like that was yeah, that was some weird stuff to say. But anyway,
here. I'm a weird
um,
guy, bud. Look at that pen.
yeah, me too. So for me to say that was a weird thing to say, um, maybe totally lose my train of thought now. But yeah, you get to see that. I think the only like I've shared some what I consider dumb ideas, but like the first real like user feedback I ever shared was like a couple months ago in that alliance when I was like, "Where's the outlet at near the table? Like, why is there no outlet here at a workstation?" And they took that feedback, and there was a lot of feedback in the comments they used as well. But you get tons of that because you deal specifically with floor plans.
Yeah.
So that's where you become resourceful to Boundless as well. At the end of the day, Boundless recognized us both as not just influencers, right? Because here's the thing is none of this was like, oh, you're going to do this many videos for us, all this, and you're going to tell it like that conversation hasn't happened. Nate and all the guys at Boundless know that I'm going to shred that thing just like I would shred anything else in a
Yeah.
video when we do the first inspection, right? Like they're aware of that. And yet they still want our help. They still want all of that. And it's not about videos. There's an obvious portion of that that's like, yeah, we'd love to have you guys helping us out because let's face the obvious here. We get a lot of views on our channels and putting that on there is beneficial to them. Like that's not a secret, right? Like, yeah, it
No,
does
how
have
cool would it be
marketing.
if everyone did that? Or even, imagine if just a random brand was like, "Hey, we're coming out this new floor plan. What can we do to critique it?" And actually just post the prototype and say, "Hey, we're working on number 2, but first we wanna hear why this sucks." Not why it's good, but why it sucks. Because I think if you fix why it's bad is gonna be a lot more good than, "Hey, where did we go right?" Nah, tell me where the table sucks. Like, okay, so, like, I'm a fat guy. I can tell you right now where a couple RVs suck 'cause I can't sit at a dinette or I can't get in the shower or that what, actually, one fix that I would like to see from manufacturers right now? You
What's
ever
that?
go into those floor plans where, and my own RV is actually guilty of this too, which is kind of funny because I had input on it. Actually, it's how it's designed. But you have the Tri-Glide Glass series. It drives me nuts why it latches on away from the sink. So every time I have to unlatch it and push all three, why isn't the latch just set up on the other side? That could be something that maybe but That drives me nuts. But even little things like that where I could just get in and unlatch it and then close it. It's like, why add the extra step? That's kind of goofy, but it's like little things like that that a lot of these manufacturers and reps, they don't actually camp. Now, the ones that do are predominantly the top sellers. Like you have your Rockwoods, your Alliance, Brinkley came off the gates pretty hot. These are people that
Yeah.
actually go camping. So like having those little minor details are what the community that we reach could really fix. Um, it could be saying like, "Hey, yeah, I owned this RV's last year. The toilet roll holder is in a really bad spot." And just moving that one little thing just makes that experience that much better, you know?
Yeah, but the thing is a lot of manufacturers, and I've actually driven into this pretty hard for the past year or so, is the little things really do matter,
Yeah,
and that's where myself and Boundless, or the guys at Boundless, see eye to eye. Is like a lot of manufacturers will look at it like we got bigger fish to fry. I'm not worried about where that latch is, or where this is, or where this control board is mounted. But realistically, when you look at complaints, because I've seen plenty of hit lists a mile long from customers who've owned their RV for a month and they bring it back and they're getting service done. It's not usually a lot of big items. It's not like, oh, this entire slide room sucks or this or this. It's usually a huge list of little tiny things that add up and create a bunch of different headache items, which create a big headache. So if you can fix all those little 1% issues, you can have a better ownership experience at the end of the
yeah,
day.
yeah, like
It's
your
just how it
alliances
works.
and all that. Yeah,
But Boundless, they listen to any piece of input I've given them, like they take it seriously. So I do have high hopes for them. Um, at most, I would say, because at the end of the day, people want to know, like, so what is your? We don't own the business, right? I would say an advisory role. Am I getting fat checks from Boundless or anything right now? No. I think that should just be a testament to the fact that, like, I do genuinely want to be a part of making a better RV. Brinkley came out years ago. They raised the bar pretty high, right? Everybody else is kind
sure.
of, I'm not going to say everybody's caught up 100%, but a lot of people have caught up to an extent. And I think it's time to kind of raise that bar again so that everybody else has to catch up again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I hope they come out and crush it. As far as my involvement is concerned, there's not really involvement. It's the involvement that really anybody else could do. It's hey, can we make this thing better? Can I go in and see it? It's the same feedback that I would give anybody else, but they are one of the first people that introduced it at a ground level. Now, granted, I haven't been. It's kind of curious. Would more people that are just starting off have me involved? Just speaking selfishly, would they have me involved more often had my channels been bigger 5 years earlier? I don't know. Um, but it's one of those things where, man, it's cool. It's refreshing to have that, and it's something that I hope that everyone does. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to help one company. I want to help every company. If everybody switches to the outlets that you're talking about, that is mission critical. It's the best. I don't want every
Right.
RV to be the same, but I want every RV to get better. And that's where I think people in the industry misunderstood the roles, where it's like, brother, we're not looking at somebody's ideas and giving it to the next. I want every RV to have their own ideas. I want every RV to increase and get better and make better for I don't even truthfully told, I mean, I might hear for it to suck. I don't even care about the manufacturers. I care about the manufacturers getting better for the people that are camping. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to football games with normal families. I'm not going to football games with CEOs and, board meetings. Like
Yeah.
you
I don't
know,
have CEO friends. I don't have, I mean,
I don't go to Wall Street.
technically I do. We've made some acquaintances throughout the industry. I'm not going to pretend like I don't know any CEOs, but the people that sit at my table, the people that I break bread with, are people like yourself, not CEOs.
Yeah.
And,
In the
you know,
backyard cooking steaks, slamming apple juices, baby.
ever since I started this journey, I've been on the side of RV owners. I'm going to remain on that side. Yeah. Do I have I done some work with manufacturers? Have I helped try and improve their products, or if they want to hire me to come out and do some consulting, like I'm all game for it.
Oh
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, I will always be on the side of RV owners. That's the side that I chose when I started this, and I'm not big on switching teams. So that's kind of it's kind of the gist of Boundless. We'll obviously have a lot more information coming soon. Still, again, it's a very new company. From the looks of it, again, Boundless can probably answer some of these questions. Maybe we can get Nate on,
I'd
but
love to have them on. That'd be awesome.
I wouldn't anticipate a Hershey launch, because it is, again, the prototype's got to get done, the registration and all that stuff. But I would comfortably say uh, we'll probably have some content coming here soon on that as that prototype gets along. And like Hunter said, I'm not gonna be nice about the prototype because that's the most important stuff. Let them fix it before the ball gets rolling. I wish some other manufacturers did that. Build a prototype and go send it out. Go let someone take it out. Let uh, do some real R&D. Get it out in the field. Get the feedback and get all that stuff before you mass produce them, and then figure out what the final steps
Here's
are
a
before
novel
mass
idea.
production.
Take it out for a weekend trip.
Yeah, something like that. And then, again, get the videos out there, but have myself and Hunter do the videos and put it out there. Find out what people hate, find out what people love, and get all that feedback, and then implement that into the final
Shoot, make
product. And
that prototype and send me out in it, baby. I'll give you some honest feedback and I'll drop it by Nick to take a look at on the way.
yeah, I'll take a prototype out. I
Yeah.
want to take a big fancy fifth wheel out. I'm more of a travel trailer guy myself, but I'll take a fancy fifth
I'll
wheel
take
out
a
if I
trailer
have to.
trailer. I'll take a trailer trailer. Dude, I'll tell you what, looking around 44 feet, it's a lot of length.
Yeah, I drove one of the many jobs I've had. I drove a dry van semi over the road, not for a very long period of time. It was not a job that was for me. I got to see a lot of the country, but other than that, it was not for me, and I can't see myself doing that and enjoying it even if I'm pulling my own RV. It's not for me. I don't care if people are like, "Oh, you're not a real man. You don't tow nothing." I don't care. I'd rather just have a trailer, to be honest with you. So, I know the question's been asked 100 times. I'll address that one more thing. Like, am I going to do a floor plan like Hunter and put my ugly mug on the back of it? Um, Maybe. I have. We've entertained the idea with Boundless, so that might become a reality. I don't know if I'll put a big 6 foot version of myself on the back like Hunter did, but
Hold on. I want everybody to look at him and now look at me. Does it make sense for us both, baby? I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
This right here, woo, baby. And that,
Jesus,
hey,
energy at all times of the day.
you do that guy first thing in the morning. That's where Nick the Grump came from, is because I'm coming in with that hot energy and he's just like, "Ugh," you know? But hey, one thing that we did promise is that we were going to try to make this episode between 30 and 40 minutes, certainly not over an hour. We got 57 minutes, 30 seconds right now. I think this is a good time to take a
Yeah, we're
10-second
go ahead and
wrap
wrap
up.
it up. You guys. Hopefully, everybody has a little bit better understanding about one, kind of where we went, or what happened with the launch of the show,
Yep.
how we got to this point, and what you guys can expect to see from here on out with RV Confidential. And hopefully, it clears up a little bit about Boundless. Again, there's
Yeah.
still so much information. It's all still very new. We don't even have a finished product yet to show you. So just be patient. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We can answer what we can or what we're allowed to answer right now, and we can go from there. But hopefully that clears up a little bit. I know nobody's really talked about it, even Boundless. So that's about what we can tell you right now.
Okie dokie.
All right, we will see you guys on the next episode, and we also have another episode of Ask the RV Guys that's
Yeah.
getting filmed today as well. So stay tuned. We'll have that
Directly
for you
after this,
guys.
we are going to get one thing we are going to do is hopefully not any more big gaps in it. We're going to start getting, we decided to not set like a certain day or time currently.
Yeah,
We are going to get going after it as we kind of learn. And eventually we'll probably settle into a schedule, I would think.
yeah, once we get things flowing here, once we
Yeah.
once we get things flowing and everything kind of has a little bit of fluid motion, we'll get it done. But in the meantime, you guys have a good one. We'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.